Hello everyone. So it's August 17th. It's 3 o'clock, and that means it's going to be time for the whatiship.tv DotA Daily #1. And to give you guys a little bit of information about this is going to be a daily series that's starting today, and will probably be running Monday through Friday, somewhere around this time slot. Going to try to figure out what's better for everyone, and then possibly with a restream later in the evening. And basically it's going to be a little bit different every day. The first couple of episodes are going to be sort of an introduction to Dota 2, the bare bones basics, the very beginnings of Dota, how not to die in the first 5 minutes of the game. That's going to be today, as well as a quick little history and a little bit of basics about everything that is Dota. So to start off, a little quick history of Dota. Started as an StarCraft mod way back when it was called Aeon of Strife in 2002. Got recreated in Warcraft 3. And after that, Dota All-Stars came out, which was sort of like a more evolved version. It took a bunch of mods, put them together, made an appearance at BlizzCon in 2005. Then Ginsu took over, refined it a little bit, made it team versus team. And 2005, IceFrog also joined the development team, and that's sort of the spawn of a lot of modern-day Dota, what people mostly consider. Around 2009, Ginsu joined Riot, and then he made LoL. So we don't talk about him anymore. We pretend he doesn't exist. And then in the same month of LoL being released, IceFrog joined Valve. And in 2010, they announced the wonderful game as we know it today, Dota 2. And it was premiered in 2011 at the International 1 for a prize pool of $1.6 million. And that same prize pool is going to be around in 2 weeks at the International #2 in Seattle. And there's been a lot of imitators that have come out along the way. Heroes of Newerth, things like that, that most people don't really care about. No, they do care about it, but we're not going to talk about those games. So the basics of Dota, if you guys don't know, is a really, really simple way of thinking about it. Is like a game of tug of war with 5 heroes on each side and then a small little army for each team. We're actually going to jump in the game here, and I'm going to give you a little bit quick overview of the map. So we've got these 3 lanes. This is the mid lane right here. We've got the top lane. Then we have the bottom lane, and there's the same on each side. You can see it's pretty symmetrical, with the exception of perhaps this guy right here, the Roshan Pit. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So you've got these 3 lanes, and with these 3 lanes, creeps spawn right here, who are little guys. They're controlled by the computer. And in the beginning of the game, there's 4 of them every 30 seconds. 3 melee creeps and 1 range creep. And they meet up here, right in the middle, and they'll fight. And without 5 heroes on either side, those guys will fight in the middle for a very long time. Games would take much longer than they do now. And by killing those creeps or having them die around you, you gain experience as one of these heroes. This is Lich, one of the heroes right here. And we're actually going to unpause this game so we can get this rolling. And with these heroes, you fight, and your goal is to take down this right here, the Ancient on the other side. And if you're on this team, you're going to be taking down the throne over here, which is this Ancient. So when these creeps die, you get experience. The experience is split evenly by the amount of heroes that are in the vicinity. So they give the same experience no matter what, and you gain that. That lets you level up. When you level up, you can get more skills right here. These are your skills. These 3 right here, you can get whenever you want until they're maxed at level 4. This, guys, is your ultimate. You get it at level 6, level 11, and level 16. And when you get the last hit on these guys in the middle, you get gold. And with gold, you buy items. So let's talk about starting items for a little bit. There's a bunch of different kinds of starting items. You can see in our recommended items here, we've got a little bit of regen, which are these. This is a Tango. This gives you 115 health every time you eat a tree, and one of these comes with 3 charges. Okay? Healing Salve gives you 400 health over 10 seconds, costs 100 gold. And those are the basics for regenning your health. And what determines your health? That's your strength right here. basically 1 point gives you 19 hit points and also gives you a little bit of regen. Your agility increases your armor as well as your attack speed, and your intelligence is going to increase your mana as well as your mana regen. And then you have to look at the primary attribute of your hero. That's the one that's in the gold circle right here. So 1 more point of that gives you 1 point of damage. So that's the very, very, very basics about your hero and things like that. So back to starting items. This is a courier. This lets you bring items out into the lane. Obviously, you can see how that's advantageous because that means you don't have to go home here, and that means you won't be missing experience. You won't be missing out on last hits. Gives you an opportunity to stay there. This can also be upgraded to a flying courier. You can imagine that makes it a little bit faster. Lets him fly over trees. Doesn't have to follow these distinct lanes. Can fly straight over this forest. Things like that. If you're over here in the jungle, which is another part of the map, gives you a little bit of a quicker way to get your items. The jungle has a couple different components which are pretty important. Right here, at all of these little pockets where you have this little symbol, creep spawn. Every minute, they spawn at the 30-second mark the first time around, but then every time you hit an even minute, you'll get new creeps here. Obviously, that's going to give you some more room to get experience and more gold as well. So if there's no one in here, there's gold, which is essentially being untapped. No one's getting the experience from it. No one's getting the gold from it. And then here, as well as here, these are the special ancient camps. These are creep camps like these, except they're a lot bigger. They're worth a lot more gold, and most of them can be affected by magic. So it slows down the rate you can kill them. You usually need to be a little bit higher level, maybe have a couple different items to help you take over that. So now that we talked about the map a little bit, we talked about some very basic starting items. Let's see starting items in general. What's good and what's bad? To survive the first couple minutes of Dota, you're going to need some regen. You don't want to have to leave your lane and be completely useless. But at the same time, you also don't want to have no health and only regen items or no damage, because then it's going to be really hard for you to get last hits. It's going to be really hard for you to do anything really of consequence. So you have to get a pretty good balance going. I've picked Lich to show you guys how Dota 2 works. He's a very common starting character. He's got a good nuke. He has an ability called Sacrifice right here that takes away one of your creeps. So it pulls the lane back. When the lane gets pulled back, it's easier for you to get kills on these guys right here, because you're not having to deal with the opponent's tower. Towers, as you can imagine, are defensive structures. They do a lot of damage in the early game, and a couple hits from one of those can kill you pretty easily. So you have to be pretty careful and stay away from those. You don't want the towers to hit you, and they will hit you without abandon if you get in the wrong position. So you have to be very, very, very careful. Some other very common starting items is an Ironwood branch. That's this guy right here. It costs very little money, 53 gold. So you start with 603 gold. You can see that right here. This is your gold. And it gets increased, like I said, when you kill those enemy creeps or an enemy hero. That also gives you a big burst of gold and XP. It's 5v5, 5 heroes on each team. This team, I should have said this a little earlier, is called the Radiant. This is the left side or the bottom side of the map. This team over here, this is the Dire. They're going to be my opponents for this match, although there's no one else on that team. So it'll be pretty lonely. And if we check out some other starting items, which maybe you would think about getting, Boots of Speed. So those give you 55 movement speed. Essentially, that's all they give you. You know, the ability to run a little bit faster. You might be able to run away from enemy heroes, run away from towers, but it's not giving you that stats, which gives you increased health, increased mana, increased armor. It's not giving you regen like those salves or a clarity potion that increases your mana. It's just giving you movement speed, and when you only get movement speed, it's really not that helpful. You're not helping your ally at all. You're not helping anyone else that's in the lane with you, or anything like that. So we try not to get those. So we're going to start out with some normal starting items here. I'm going to grab myself a courier and our normal consumables. Alright, so courier normally looks like a little chicken, but I have a fancy courier. It's this boar. He's pretty awesome. I'm a big fan of the boar. Another starting item you might want to consider getting at some point if you're a support, that is someone who helps your teammates do better. would be a ward. So we're a little bit late to lane because we've been talking for a while. So I'm going to scoot my way over here, and I'm going to get sacrificed first. But that's not that important for now.
And so the dead.
So as a basic rule of thumb, the starting items that Valve recommends, or that we, that are these guys right here, are not bad. They're usually pretty good. I need to turn the sound down just a little bit. They're usually pretty good, and really they provide you with a stable base. You're trying to fill in the gaps of your hero. So let's say you're playing a hero who has a very low mana pool right here, and his abilities cost a lot. In the early game, you're probably going to want to get something like a Clarity Potion. That's going to give you that extra mana regen. You might want to get a couple of those. That's going to help you out if you're playing someone like Earthshaker.
Agreed.
So now we've talked about very basics of starting items, what the map looks like, and things like that. We can also maybe start to mention some different heroes you would want to play. In Dota 2, there's several different kinds of heroes. There are support heroes, there are carries, there's gankers, team fight specialists, which isn't really a hero type, but there are some heroes which are very dedicated to it. And basically what those means are a couple different things. A support, like this guy right here, Lich, that's someone who's going to help your team get better, or is going to buy items that help your team. He's not, by himself, he's really not causing a huge ruckus. In the beginning of the game, he's pretty low key. He can't really get in big fights. He's pretty weak, and he's got a couple abilities which make himself extremely useful for your entire team. Sacrifice, like I talked about before, pulls the lane from here back a little bit because you have one less of these guys fighting in the middle. With one less of these guys, it's not going to get pushed forward as much because the other guys' creeps are going to be able to get the kills and move forward and eventually attack your tower. As well, the carry, that's someone who's going to be very weak early game. And a carry is someone who gets better as the game goes on. So in the beginning parts of the game, he's going to be a little bit useless. Not going to be too great. But at the later parts of the game, he's the guy that can 1v4 the entire team, make you hate yourself for going near him, and basically just cry. That's what happens in late games against carries. So if you're playing against a lot of carries, obviously you want to end the game a little bit quicker. Because in Dota, you have to pick a part of the game to be strong in. You can't be strong in throughout the entire game, otherwise you'll be mediocre for most of it. It's like, there's no such thing as a jack of all trades. He's the master of nothing. So you have to pick a part of the game to be very strong in. Let's talk about the heroes that you might want to play as a new person in Dota. So let's go over here. There's sort of a bunch of different heroes which I recommend in the beginning parts of Dota. And let's see. One good one, like I talked about before, is going to be Lich, who is right here. You can see he's a ranged support, and this tab is extremely messed up. So I can't actually show you all of his skills. But it's important to remember these guys. We've got Lich. Another one who's going to be very helpful when you're learning how to play Dota is going to be Skeleton King. Skeleton King is much better in the later parts of the game. This is him right here. He has lifesteal, which means he takes away health when he attacks someone. Obviously, this makes him a little bit more flexible. He also has a good stun. That makes it so the enemies can't move towards you, maybe gives you a little bit of escape, things like that. Another good one is this guy right here, Venomancer. This is another support. So he's going to be helping your team get better. He provides your team with pushing. He puts down these little wards. It's pretty helpful. Another good one would be Tidehunter. And Tidehunter is a little bit different than anyone else we've talked about so far, as really he's more of a tank. He just walks in there and then he activates his ultimate, which is this huge AoE, area of effect stun. AoE is something you're going to hear a lot. If an opponent has a team that has a lot of AoE, then basically you guys have to be careful as a team because they can go in there, use 3 or 4 abilities, and then kill you all at once. That's not something you want to end up against, and it's sort of the plight of an early game player. So let's jump back into the game now that we talked a tiny bit about different heroes you might want to play, the basics of Dota. Let's make a new game here. Great. Start that up. So that's the very basis of Dota. The other thing which I neglected to mention is a little bit more about your hero. So again, I'm going to pick, actually this time, I'm going to pick Skeleton King, who's who I talked about before. Is armor reduces the amount of damage that your hero takes. Basically that means that it's like a 6% per 1 point of armor. So when you get agility, 7 points of it increases your armor by 1 point. And every point gives you that 6% against physical attacks. That's literally someone walking over to you. With this guy, it would be hitting you with his large sword. For other guys, it might be shooting an arrow at you if they're ranged. Things like that. Now we're going to buy these normal starting items that Valve suggests right here. This is a Quelling Blade. It increases your damage against creeps, those little guys that are fighting in the middle, and that makes your life a little bit easier in the early parts of the game. And we also just have some regen. We also have a little bit of stats, so we've got a little bit of everything. And I like these starting items for this guy if you want to make it in the later part of the game. The other important thing to say about your hero is that built in, he has a 25% magic resistance. All heroes. So what that means is, we look at this ability right here, Hellfire Blast. Skeleton King fires a spear of Hellfire at an enemy unit, dealing damage and stunning, then dealing damage over time and slowing the target. So it has a 2-second stun, you can see that right there, a 15% slow, and then the thing we're looking at right now is going to be that damage at the bottom. So let's say we had this at level 2, and it was doing 100 damage. That means if you cast this on an enemy hero, it would actually only do 75 damage because of that built-in magic resistance. And there are items you can get that increase that magic resistance, as well as everything else you can imagine. We're not really going to talk about further items right now. Basically, we're trying to get you through that first couple minutes of the game without looking really stupid and without dying and doing something dumb. So far, we're on a good start. And we're also going to talk a little bit about how to lane. So this is when you're laning right here. When you're in these one of these 3 defined lanes right here. And basically, you're just trying to get kills on these enemy creeps right here because you want that experience and you want that gold. And you can see this is your experience bar right here. You can see it's going up. Even though I'm not doing anything to any of these heroes, it's because I'm standing close enough right here. I'm close enough to all these heroes to get that experience. You have to be standing close enough. It's 1200. To give you an idea of what 1200 is, this radius right here is not 1200. It's much less. 1200 is about here, I would say. This is about 1200. You can see I'm still getting, I'm not quite actually getting, I'm a little bit closer. Let's get a little bit closer here. See, I got that experience for that creep kill. So that's about how close you have to stand in order to get that experience. And with that, you're going to level up. You can see I already have 1 more point in leveling up. And then these are your other abilities. You're going to want to read these very carefully at the beginning of the game to figure out what your hero does. We have a critical strike. That's exactly what it sounds like. And we have a vampiric aura. This is lifesteal. Okay? And now we have a 3rd point. I'm going to put it back in that stun. And the important thing to know about the laning phase is if you're one of those supports that I talked about before, you're going to want to let your other laning partner, someone like this guy, Skeleton King, get most of those last hits. And if you're letting them get the last hits, they're going to get the money to buy more stuff. They're going to be able to get money to buy better items to make your team better. And if you're the support, you really just want to sit there and soak up XP, occasionally buy items when you can. You're also going to want to deny. Denying is something which is extremely important to Dota and is what changes a lot about the game versus its competitors. Denying is when you actually kill your own creep. Now you might say, why would I want to do that? By denying a creep, we'll do that on this guy right here. So he's below 50% health. That means I can start attacking him. And I'll start hitting him. Oh, I missed it. We'll do it on one of these guys. You're going to see this little exclamation mark sign up. See that? That's a deny. So what a deny means is that your opponent's not getting that gold because you took the last hit. They didn't. You're not getting any gold either because it's your creep. But they're not getting it, and it also reduces the amount of experience that they're getting. Okay? It takes away the experience for them, so they're going to be a lower level. You want to be a higher level than your opponent as much as you can. If they get a huge level advantage over you, it becomes extremely difficult for you to really do anything. They'll kill you very fast, and they'll make your life miserable. A couple other starting items, which I didn't really talk about before, which are really important, are these. There's a couple items that cost 150 gold, and they're all right here. The Gauntlets of Strength, the Slippers of Agility, and the Mantle of Intelligence. You can see all of these just give stat boost. +3 Intelligence, +3 Agility, +3 Strength. Those items often build into something a little bit better that you're going to want to buy down the road. And if you need health, a Gauntlet of Strength is a really good thing. It's also going to build in one of these guys, a Bracer. This gives you more health. If you're dying a lot, you can buy these, and they'll die a little less as long as you're not really far out. And by far out, I mean, let's say my lane was right here. Imagine I was all the way over here for some reason. Maybe I was trying to do something to an enemy hero or something like that. If I'm all the way over here, not only am I away from all of my creeps, I'm taking tower hits. You can see those. An enemy creep or an enemy hero would be able to come up behind me and probably just kill me because I'm not in a good place where I can run away. There's not really anywhere I can go. So you want to stay with your team. You want to stay not too far out on the map, and you want to make sure you're paying attention to this mini map right here because it's going to give you a lot of information about enemy heroes. So another important thing to know is, where do these heroes go? How are they split up? Well, there's a couple different options. This mid lane right here, this is what we call the middle lane, is usually occupied by one guy. One hero is in there. It's called a solo lane. Usually in this mid lane, you're going to have someone who's a strong laner who has decent amounts of this right click right here, also some abilities which are helpful. The only hero which I think is a really good starting hero, which has the ability to be pretty decent in the mid lane, is Lich. Just because of his sacrifice ability as well as his nuke, it makes him pretty easy. Makes it pretty easy for him to win that lane, meaning he gets better levels, he gets more money, and maybe gets a kill on the enemy hero. This is called I call it the hard lane. See how over here, this tower is much further up on the map. It's almost right here in this corner. This one up here, this is the enemy's tower. Our tower is way back here. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to be in that lane because you have less space to play around with, and they've got a lot more space to fall back on. So it makes it you can die very easily in this lane. You have to be very, very, very careful. Let's say I had an opponent, a teammate up here who was about to die. Another very important part of the game, which I've neglected to mention so far, are these things called town portal scrolls. A town portal scroll is also called a TP scroll or a TP. There's lots of acronyms in Dota, and you're going to be really confused until you figure them all out. But a TP scroll lets you teleport to a target-friendly building, meaning a tower, back here where you heal, as well as any other building that you choose from. Usually you're going to be teleporting to a tower or back here, and when you're in this section, you heal. You heal mana, you heal health. So you buy one of those. So let's make up some room here. Buy one of those, and then you click this, or you click the hotkey, and then you click where you want to go. And boom, you're there. Costs 135 gold, which seems like a lot. You might say, I can just walk there. But sometimes walking there is not really an option. You might have to get there quickly. So you're always going to want to keep one of those in your inventory if you can. It gives you much bigger flexibility. You can teleport around help your teammates, push towers, and things like that. Something very important to note about those TP scrolls is they have a 60-second cooldown. See this number right here? This is called a cooldown. That means I can't use this ability or this item. It happens with abilities too, until that number is gone and it's down to 0 again. 60 seconds in the realm of Dota is a pretty medium-sized cooldown. Your ultimates usually have a much longer cooldown, and that's what that gray bar is right there. It looks like a tiny little clock. I'm pointing to it, but you cannot see that. So here it says 260/160/60, and what that means is the first level of it has a 260-second cooldown. That's real seconds. That's a long time. So obviously you're going to want to use that sparingly. In the case of Skeleton King, it's a passive. It's a reincarnate. It means when he dies, he's going to come back. Obviously you can see that's helpful. Something like this ability, Hellfire Blast, we'll use that on a guy. See, it's only 8 seconds, but look how much mana it costs. A truckload. That's why I have one of these right here. It's a clarity potion. That's why we buy these. It's filling in the gaps of what makes your heroes weak in the beginning of the game. In the beginning of the game, this guy does not have a lot of mana. You can see that one thing made it so I can't cast it again. That's why it's in this blue color. It's not like it normally was. If I use this, it's going to increase my mana. You can see it's going up much faster now, and I already have enough now for another one. That's very, very helpful and pretty important. So you have a very basic understanding now of what I've been talking about for the last, almost half an hour. We've talked about starting items. We've talked about the different parts of the map. We talked about how the game works. Now let's go back. We're going to make one game, and we're going to play through the first couple of minutes against some robots. And we're going to make these easy, just so it makes my life a little bit easier. I don't have to really pay attention, and I can talk to you more. So we're going to start up here, and we're also going to talk about a couple more very basic heroes that you might want to think about playing. So this is how you pick heroes. Your other option to pick heroes is hitting this guy right here, Control, and that gives you this nice shiny grid where you can actually change around, change the layouts, and things like that. But let's go back to this view. It lets you see who I'm talking about a little bit better. So let's go to Tidehunter. This is one I talked about before. And the cool thing about this is you can type who you're looking for. So another hero you might want to think about playing is Dragon Knight. That's this guy right here. He's a melee carry, and he's a pretty strong laner with a couple items. Venomancer, who I talked about before. Let's see him right here. So I'm going to go with Dragon Knight this game. And I'm going to get my stun first. And then we're going to see my starting items. This is that Quelling Blade again. Made it its appearance because it's a carry. And then we have a Gauntlet of Strength, increasing my HP. You can see my HP just went up. And with bots, it's hard to communicate. Dota's a game about teamwork. You don't win Dota by yourself. Your entire team has to coordinate to kill enemy heroes, to group up and kill enemy towers. It's really the only way for you to do well. This lane is a little bit weird. There's 3 of us in it. This is called a tri-lane. This tri-lane doesn't really make sense at all. But we're going to talk about more than that in a different episode. But basically, you generally want to put the people who need a lot of farm, or your hard carry. Hard carry is someone who needs a lot of farm or a lot of gold. Farming is when you kill creeps to get money. You want to put the guys that need the most farm in this bottom lane right here, because it's the easiest. The tower is the furthest up. It gives you the most space. Again, we're going to have that strong laner in the middle. This is Tiny. He's very strong at harassing enemy heroes. And he looks tiny now, but later he gets very large. And now we're just going to run through the first minute or so of the game. We're waiting for the game clock to tick down. During this time, you can see my team has put up a ward. This is going to give us vision right here. Obviously, if the person from this lane comes over to here, we're going to be able to see that, so we can back up. This is called a rune. This is a double damage rune. It increases your base damage by 100%, so it doubles it for a certain period of time. 45 seconds for most runes. And now you can see my creeps here are walking up in the lane, and I'm going to walk with them, and I slowed them down a little bit just to pull them back closer to this tower. So you can see me, I'm pretty slow right now because I don't have those boots of speed. And now basically what I'm going to try to be doing as a hard carry is get those last hits. My bot partner here is going to be competing with me. So you can see plus 38. That's plus 38 gold that I wouldn't have had before. And now I want to deny this creep right there, and I don't get it. See how he took the last hit? That means that this guy got that money, and their team both got that XP. Now, if you remember, last time, 1 wave's worth of creeps got me a level up. But since I have a partner here, it does not. You know, as a goal, if you're playing a carry, you want to get about 50 last hits in 10 minutes. That means you're doing really, really, really good. Last hits means you get that gold, you get that money. And where can you see those last hits? I'm going to back up a little bit. Those last hits are right here. There's 2. We have 2 right now. That's not good. We want a lot more than 2. Denies is the D right there. Does not mean deaths in this case. That's how many you've denied. And then this is your kill, death, and assist. And one thing to think about Dota, which a lot of people who are brand new don't understand, is your kill death is not that important. Obviously, you don't want to have 11 deaths and no kills. But if you're breaking even, you're probably doing fine. And if you're support, sometimes will even be going negative because your carries, these guys, a guy like me, a guy like this Juggernaut over here, would be getting a lot more of those kills. And as a rule of thumb, you want to put 1 carry, like this guy, with 1 support, who's one of these guys up here. Both of these guys are supports. Unfortunately, since we're playing with bots, they did something which makes absolutely no sense, and this is something that happens a lot in bot games, and even in early level games as well. So you're going to want to communicate with your team to try to pair up to have 1 support and 1 carry in each lane. That gives the carry a lot of gold, and then the support can help get kills. That's how you can win your lane. Now this Juggernaut is going to maybe die right now because he's very bad. He's a bot. This is what they do. They die. So I'm going to Flame Breath. I'm going to stun this guy, which is this ability right here. Alright, and then I'm going to back up. Something else which we haven't talked about so far are hotkeys. So each of these abilities have hotkeys. You can see this one is Q and this one is W. By default, this is Q, this is W, this is E, and this is R. So you can see that makes your life very easy, 4 right next to each other. Now the hotkeys that don't make sense right when you launch the game are these guys over here. These are your items. G, T, space. This is one of my mouse buttons, this is another mouse button, and this is another mouse button for me. That's how I activate these. So if I want to use one, I hit G, and then I click this. And I ate that tree, and I'm regenerating mana faster than I would before. Now let's say I wanted to use this Quelling Blade, which also gives me the ability to cut down a tree. I hit T, and I click on a tree. Now if that makes sense, we can take a quick look over here in our settings. Let's pause the game for a second. Now let's cruise over to our settings right here. And these are your different settings that you want to choose. For me, I like hotkeying my hero to 1, the courier to 2, and that means that if I want to click my hero, I click 1. If I want to get the courier, I click 2. And that means I can control the courier without even looking at him. So let's say I buy something right now. I want to buy this magic stick. By default, that goes into our stash because items are purchased here, here, this is a side shop, or here, this is a secret shop. Not so secret. Not sure why they call it that. It's from the old Dota games. So it's in my stash because I wasn't in a place where I could pick that up. The side shop only stocks very certain items. The secret shop tends to house the more expensive items that you use for much bigger, more expensive items down the road, because these smaller items you buy in the beginning can be made into items, and then you can also make bigger items. That's these guys down here. You can see this one has 2 components, and each of those components has 3 components. So we buy this, and let's say I wanted this to come out. If I didn't have a hotkey, I would probably have to look over to our base, select the courier, get it to come back, click this right here, which is retrieve items from stash, and then transfer items to hero. That's going to send him out to me. But I'm going to put it back in my stash with this guy right here. Now let's go back. Now let's say I want that item. I just hit 2, D, F. And that's going to bring that item out to me much easier. I can keep my eyes on the lane. And something you might have noticed while I was looking at these is these components also have this little thing over here. This is a recipe. You can see how much the components cost by the little gold symbol right below their name. And the recipes by themselves do not do anything. So if you can afford a recipe, that doesn't mean you should buy it unless it's the last part. In some very rare instances, you're going to want to buy the recipe at a different point, but most of the time you're going to want to buy that thing last, because by itself it doesn't do anything, it just makes it so this item can be built. Not all items have recipes. You can see this item just takes 2 big items to make into this. There's no recipe for this final one. Now this changes for each different item, and you have to look and be careful. And the other thing which is pretty important is your shop is not going to look like this right when you launch the game. It's going to look like this. This layout I don't like. It makes the names much larger, so it's a little helpful for the beginning, but it takes a lot more clicking to figure out where I want to go. Look at all these different things. Now if you click this little grid right here, it's going to bring this up, and then there's just 2. Basics and upgrades. Upgrades are those bigger items. Basics are those smaller items, the ones you're going to be buying towards the beginning part of the game. Upgrades are ones you're going to be building towards in the middle to late parts of the game. Alright, so now we've been around our lane for a while. We haven't really gotten anything, but let's go back to our normal daily activities in lane. So we're going to go back here. I'm going to try to last hit these creeps. And look how I'm getting this money. I missed that deny. Now I'm going to use an ability right there to get that creep kill, because I wanted to also damage him. So this is more what the normal laning phase is going to look like. You've got 2 heroes. And see that guy? That's called being out of position. When you run back like that, that's what causes you to die a lot. That's what you want to avoid when you're playing, because you don't want to die in the early game if you can help it. See, I just got 3 creep kills, and now I just got stunned. So now I could be in a whole load of trouble if I'm not careful. I'm going to back up. I'm going to eat a tree, and that's going to regenerate a lot of my health. And I almost just died. You can see it's very easy to die in this game. So you have to be very careful. However, now I'm going to be manly. I'm going to move up here, and I'm going to try to kill this guy. It's not going to work, though. In fact, he's probably going to kill me. So I back up again. So that's the very basics of the laning phase. You sort of just saw all of the different components. And let's see if there's anything else which is really important to talk about before we wrap up DotA Daily number 1. Go play, guys. The only way to get good at this game is to play it a lot. Like, a lot. That's how you get really good. In a little bit, you'll be a little bit more comfortable. You'll know, who is this guy? Juggernaut. What does he do? You'll know soon. Tiny. What does he do? Windrunner. There's so many different heroes. There's 90 heroes that you can choose from. It seems a little overwhelming at first, but if you pick a couple of those heroes that I talked about, Lich, Venomancer, Skeleton King, Lycanthrope, Tidehunter, or Dragon Knight, if you concentrate on 2 or 3 of those heroes in the beginning, you can be really comfortable with them, and then in a little bit you'll be learning about what other heroes do. So let's go over, again, basically the quick version of this entire episode. There's 3 lanes with creeps that fight in them. This is your fountain. It's where you heal. This is what you're trying to protect. The only thing which I didn't really mention so far about the map is this guy right here. This is where Roshan lives. Let's go give Roshan a visit. Hopefully he doesn't kill us. Roshan is a big creep. I keep saying this word creep. That's basically anything that's not controlled by a player. So you know how I said this was the big creep right here? This was the big creep camp? There's 3 that spawn right here. Roshan is one single creep who is extremely strong. You'll see if I try to attack, will just kill me in like half a second. So this is Roshan. He has 8,000 health. I have 739. If I attack Roshan, he will get really angry and kill me. He's holding this item right here. It's his heart. It's the Aegis of the Immortal. What happens when you kill Roshan, he drops the Aegis of the Immortal. That gives you 1 extra life, a reincarnation. It brings you back with full health and full mana 5 seconds after you died, right at the location where you died. You see a little gravestone pop up, and it has to be used in 10 minutes or it goes back to Roshan when he respawns. He respawns once every 10 minutes, like I just said. So every 10 minutes you can kill him. There are some heroes who are very good at killing him through a couple different ways. And there's a couple different other things you can do which make him a little bit easier to kill. Usually it's a lot harder to kill him. And someone said your logo is in front of the items, and you are so right. I'm going to move that really quick. so you guys can see what the hell I am talking about. And we'll go over another quick little thing of what that means. I actually can't move that right now. But basically, my next video, I will not be blocking that. You'll be able to see what's going on. And that was a death. Right there. That's what it looks like when a hero dies. This guy's spinning. And I'm going to try to assist. But that basically wraps up DotA Daily number 1. We've got the map right here, 3 lanes, the fountain, Roshan, the different shops, secret shop, side shop. There's another side shop up here, and another secret shop right there. And you're going to want to pick a couple of heroes to play. You're going to want to pick a couple of those heroes to play. Like I said before, Tidehunter, Lich, Venomancer, Dragon Knight. And basically, figure out what starting items you want to buy. Usually, the starting items that Valve suggests are pretty decent. You're going to want to keep getting those as you move along. One thing I did not mention is there are 25 levels to your character. And all of your skills are available except for your ultimate, which you can only get at 6, 11, and 16. I did mention that really quick. And that's the basics of Dota. So this is how you're not going to die in the first 5 minutes or so. If you get some regen items, get a couple different kinds of items, usually stick to recommend, and you'll probably be okay. Stay away from your enemy heroes. You don't want to get near them. And make sure you guys work together as a team. It's very easy to get very frustrated with your team in this game, but you have to remember that everyone's learning how to play. Everyone's gonna get better at different paces is one of the big things. So have fun. Get a couple of your friends to play. Enjoy all of the wonderful tournaments that are going on. And I'm What Is Hip, and you guys just watched the whatiship.tv DotA Daily number 1. Thanks for bearing with me with a couple of the weird overlay things. Those will be fixed for the next episode. And I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to turn on a little bit of music on the way out. And please leave any sort of suggestions you have. Shoot me a message over on Twitch. Or you can also email me at my website. There's a contact thing. You can use that on there. I'd love to hear your input. This is going to, like I said, going to be an ongoing web series. It's going to be probably Monday through Friday, somewhere in the vicinity of an hour to an hour and a half long. This episode was a little short because it was the very basics of Dota. And it's probably going to be somewhere around the 2 or 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time time zone, with probably a restream a little bit later in the day. We're still trying to figure out all those scheduling things. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell your friends. This video will be available on my YouTube. You can see my YouTube right above my face, right there, as well as all my other social media. So you guys can check that out. Also check out my website. And have fun learning how to play Dota, guys. It's one of the best games on the planet. And with that being said, enjoy some music, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!